When police entered the church, they thought they were walking into a Halloween setup, a fake body, candles, maybe some performance art. But the body was real, the blood was real, and what happened to 19-year-old Arlis Perry was straight out of a satanic horror film. This is one of the most brutal, disturbing, and long unsolved murders in California history. Arlis Perry was a North Dakota native, newly married and just 19 years old, living on the Stanford University campus with her husband Bruce Perry. She was a devout Christian, soft-spoken, and kind, like exactly the last person you'd expect to end up at the center of a ritualistic murder. On October 12, 1974, she got into a minor argument with her husband and decided to go to the Stanford Memorial Church late at night to pray and clear her head. Bruce stayed behind and later went looking for her when she didn't come home. He reported her missing around a.m. At 5:40 a.m., a security guard named Stephen Crawford unlocked the church doors and found what he thought was a staged scene. Arlis Perry was lying dead in the nave just below the cross. But it wasn't a prank, it was pure brutality. She had been bludgeoned, strangled, and sexually assaulted with a 24-inch altar candle. Another candle had been jammed between her breasts, and her body was arranged in a position that screamed satanic symbolism. Her legs were spread wide apart, her blouse pulled open, and her jeans removed and positioned near her body. And no, this wasn't the work of someone panicking or rushed. This was slow, deliberate, performed inside a locked church. There were no signs of forced entry, and initially, suspicion fell on her husband. But Bruce passed a polygraph test and was quickly ruled out. Investigators turned to the man who found her, Stephen Crawford, the campus security guard. He claimed he had locked the church the night before and found it still locked in the morning, which made zero sense, considering Arlis had entered after he supposedly locked up. Despite multiple red flags around Crawford, there wasn't enough evidence at the time, and then the case went ice cold for decades. Rumors flew. Was this a satanic ritual? A targeted attack on a Christian woman? A random act of violence? Every theory made it worse, but none of them brought answers. Fast forward to 2018, over 40 years later, when investigators reanalyzed DNA evidence from the scene. Guess who it matched? Stephen freaking Crawford. Turns out the guy who found Arlis was her killer the entire time. But before police could arrest him, they surrounded his apartment in San Jose. And he pulled out a gun and shot himself in the head. No confession, no trial, no answers. Just a monster who wore a badge, committed one of the most brutal murders in California history, and got away with it for 44 years. Even with the DNA match, this case still feels like something out of a horror script. The positioning of the body, the candle, the locked church, the twisted religious imagery. It wasn't just murder, it was performance, and that's what makes it so disturbing. People still debate whether Crawford acted alone, or if the scene was influenced by something darker. Satanic panic wasn't just a media frenzy in the 70s. People were terrified for a reason. Arlis Perry's murder is one of those cases that sticks to your brain like dried blood. It's not just brutal, it's ritualistic, and it sat in silence for decades, while the killer smiled and kept his secrets. A locked church, a college girl murdered under a cross, and a killer hiding in plain sight for half a century. So, do you think Stephen Crawford acted alone?